What happens when a scandalous Irish dancer seduces a king and topples a kingdom? Picture this: Europe, 1848. On stage, Lola Montez performs her infamous spider dance, tearing away her skirts while crowds gasp and cheer. In the streets of Munich, furious protesters riot, demanding her exile. And in the palace, King Ludwig I of Bavaria, besotted and blind to the chaos, refuses to let her go. This is the story of a woman who wielded beauty and audacity like weapons, who infiltrated the highest corridors of European power, and who left revolution and scandal in her wake. She was born Eliza Rosanna Gilbert in Ireland in 1821, the daughter of a British Army officer. Nothing about her early life suggested the tempest to come. After a failed marriage at 19 left her with limited options as a separated woman in Victorian society, Eliza made a radical choice. She reinvented herself completely. She studied dance and Spanish culture in Cadiz and emerged as Lola Montez, a fictitious Spanish noblewoman whose exotic persona captivated European audiences. When London exposed her fraud in 1843, she didn't retreat in shame. She simply denied everything and fled to the continent, where her legend only grew. Late in 1846, in the Grand Theater of Munich, Lola caught the eye of King Ludwig I of Bavaria. He was 60 years old, known for his patronage of the arts and his weakness for beautiful women. She was 25, magnetic and dangerous. The king became instantly besotted. Despite the scandal of taking a publicly known courtesan as his mistress, Ludwig showered her with extravagant gifts: a castle, a grand house in Munich, a generous annuity. On August 25, 1847, he made her Baroness Rosenthal and Countess von Landsfeld. But Lola wanted more than jewels and titles. She wanted political power, and astonishingly, she got it. Her signature spider dance became a cultural phenomenon and a calculated scandal. In this erotic tarantella, she simulated a spider bite, frantically tearing away layers of her underskirt to reveal petticoats beneath, all while stomping and writhing in a performance that shocked Victorian sensibilities and filled theaters. But offstage, she was wielding real influence over Ludwig, dictating ministerial appointments and policy decisions. His cabinet earned the derisive nickname, the Lolaministerium. She promoted liberal and anti-Jesuit policies, positioning herself as an ally of reform. She cultivated radical university students who wore her colors and called themselves Lolites, making her perhaps history's first celebrity to inspire a political youth movement. The backlash was inevitable and violent. The Bavarian nobility and middle classes viewed her as a scheming adventuress who had corrupted their king and destabilized the government. On February 7, 1848, street riots erupted. By February 10th, thousands marched on the royal palace, demanding her immediate expulsion. Protesters presented proof of her fraudulent background and evidence of her infidelities, shattering Ludwig's romantic illusions. For the Bavarian people, this wasn't just about a scandalous mistress. It was about national humiliation, faced with the possibility of broader revolution. The same revolutionary forces toppling monarchies across Europe in 1848. Ludwig capitulated. He annulled Lola's titles and rights, expelled her to Switzerland, and within weeks abdicated his throne, ending a reign that had lasted more than 2 decades. Historians still debate whether Lola was the cause or merely the catalyst, but the result was undeniable. A single woman had sparked riots, driven a king from power, and contributed to the collapse of a government. Exile didn't diminish Lola's talent for reinvention. She fled to London, where bigamy charges from a hasty 1849 marriage awaited her. Evading arrest, she crossed the Atlantic to America, embarking on a new career as a stage actress and performer. American audiences proved more tolerant of her scandalous reputation. She was the woman who had brought down a king, and they were eager to witness the legend in person. In 1855, Lola ventured even further, touring Australia during the height of the gold rush. She performed in rough mining towns, where her provocative spider dance scandalized some and delighted others. Here's what's remarkable. When 400 Australian miners heckled her after a particularly racy performance, she hurled abuse right back at them, demonstrating the fierce temperament that had defined her life. She feuded publicly with journalists, most notably Henry Seacamp, editor of the Ballarat Times. She refused to be silenced. By the late 1850s, Lola attempted yet another transformation, launching a lecture tour in America on heroines and strong-minded women of history. For a woman whose own life embodied both the possibilities and perils of female ambition in a patriarchal age, it was an ironic choice. Her health, weakened by years of relentless travel, began to fail. On January 17, 1861, Lola Montez died in New York at 39 and was buried as Mrs. Eliza Gilbert, the name she had spent decades denying. So what's Lola Montez's legacy? To her critics, she was a manipulative schemer who exploited men, fabricated her identity, and wielded sexuality as a weapon to gain wealth and power. She was blamed for political chaos and accused of moral corruption. But to others, Lola represents something different. A proto-feminist icon who refused to accept the limited roles Victorian society offered women, who demanded autonomy and influence in a world that denied both, and who survived and thrived through audacity and self-creation. She pioneered turning controversy into profit, banned in multiple cities only to see demand skyrocket elsewhere, much like modern influencers who leverage scandal for visibility. She challenged powerful institutions, carved out spaces of agency in rigidly hierarchical societies, and lived entirely on her own terms. Whether you see her as villain or trailblazer, one thing is undeniable. Lola Montez refused to be forgotten. If you're drawn to rebels and rule breakers who changed history, subscribe and tell me in the comments or through the chat link in my community posts, who should we spotlight next?